Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Friday Live, this Friday, the 14th of November. I have just been, I've gone a bit, I've started a little later. That's what I was trying to say. I've started a little later today. Normally I would go live around, an hour or so ago, but I've started a bit later today because I'm in the middle of doing a 4-day intensive with a couple. So today is day 3. And tomorrow's their last day, and we've just spent 3 days together. So that the way that kind of works is we catch up in the morning, they go and have a really big break. So at the moment they're on like a 3.5 hour break, so which just gives them time to have some downtime, to process, to assimilate where what they're learning and all of those things, have a nice lunch. And I'm a big believer in people letting their minds rest and marinate and let things land, because it's when we do that we get access to fresh thinking and all those things. So they're on a really big break, and so that's why I pushed it forward today, because we were still in the session this morning when I would normally go live with you guys. So it's been going really, really well. I really do love doing things like this, having people come. They've come to my office, which is where I'm coming to you live from now. They've been sitting with me in my office, and they're staying nearby. So, as part of doing an intensive with me, one of my kind of requirements is that you step outside of your life. You walk away from your life for those 4 days. So you don't go home and go back to the kids. You don't, in a break, start answering emails. You walk away from your life. You come and stay down here, which is a beautiful part of the world where I live. I'm very, very lucky that I live in such a beautiful part of the world. And you give each other the time and space that your relationship deserves and needs. And you walk away. So for these people, they run their own business. They've got a child. There was a lot for them to organize and make happen for them to be here for this time. And, and I said to them, it takes courage to do this, and that commitment to each other, to walk away from your life, have this time where you're not working on a business, you're not parenting your kids, you're not dealing with anything. You're carving out precious time for one another, and you're giving yourselves time to allow this to sink into land. And then part of their stay here, we've got these beautiful hot springs where I live. They're magnificent. I've been to different hot springs around the world and around Australia, and these are really world-class hot springs that we have here. So as part of that, I've organised for them to do these twilight bathing. It's twilight bathing, which is beautiful, which you can do down here on Fridays and Saturdays. So they're doing twilight bathing tonight in these amazing hot springs, and I've booked them to have dinner there, and all of those things. So they've got that tonight. So that's part of what goes on in an intensive. And I guess I just wanted to talk about it a little bit as I went live, because it's obviously fresh for me, and whatever's fresh for me is what I share with you guys. But it is such a privilege and an honor to be part of the triangle. So whenever I'm working with a couple, to me, we're in a triangle of trust. Okay. And that is a co-creation between the three of us. We are in a triangle of trust. And it is such an honor, a privilege to hold space for that triangle, to be able to enable them to facilitate what they need in order to create connection, understanding, lightheartedness, playfulness, to be able to put down whatever's been in the way, and then to be able to, speak their truth, but in a way where they feel safe and they feel heard and they feel inspired about what's possible for them moving forward. And so, at day 3, as they've gone on their break, yes, they're both feeling tired, but there's been enormous shifts. And I'm just so excited for them as to, I guess, around the possibility that they're creating together as they leave here tomorrow and go back to their life. And I guess I wanted to share it with you because it's so present for me, just how much I love doing this, like love, 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 and how much of a privilege it is to get to be able to facilitate that for someone. And then I don't take it lightly when someone puts their faith and trust in me, and they make that time and they walk out of their lives, and it's an investment in time, in money, in everything, right? In hope. It's an investment in hope. It's an investment in possibility, and that they're prepared to sit in that space and allow it to unfold. And what we've created so far has been like it's just been incredible. So I wanted to talk about that because it sounds like doing something like this can sound really full on, really overwhelming, really, and I will say there's been a lot of laughter over these. Well, we're started on Wednesday morning, so we are on day 2. We're 2.5 days in. There's been a lot of laughter. There's been tears at some point, but there's been a lot of profound moments. There's been a lot of realizations, a lot of insights, a lot of letting go, putting down, and you can feel the lightness that's coming through. And I think as they're seeing as well, there is nothing more precious, more important if you are in an intimate relationship than being able to create connection, to understand how to navigate each other's frailties well, right? This is the stuff that we're not taught, and I've been teaching them this as part of this co-creation, this triangle of trust that's being created here. They're learning how to navigate each other's frailties well. And so what happens is you then create this amazing capacity to deal with differences, difficulties really, really well. And the foundation of that is this depth of goodwill, right? This depth of goodwill and this realization that you are more than you think you are, that you are capable of more than you think you are capable of, where you start to see that you are not your thinking, and you then start to see, and it's always such a pleasure and a joy and a privilege when I get the opportunity to help someone get to know who they are outside of the limitations of their own thinking, and then to see that with two people. And then see them, co-creating that together. It's absolutely, I have no words. I'm feeling very, very full right now, very full. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys, that, there's something quite profound when people walk away from their lives, when they make this dedicated time to one another, because what you're really saying is, you really matter. This really matters. We really matter. We are the priority. And, it's so easy to forget all of that because life is busy and there's so much stuff coming at us all the time, and it's easy to get distracted. I mean, human beings are the ultimate distractors. But, we've sat down, and each day it's like an unfolding that occurs. When I'm working with a couple and we're in this triangle, I don't sit down with an agenda. The agenda unfolds based on what that couple needs. What I need to do is just get really, really present to where they are and what they need. And then from there, it unfolds the way it's meant to unfold. And it becomes this very beautiful, organic thing. And that's what's been happening. Like, he was just saying before, he said, I arrive here each day. I never know what's going to happen, but I'm really seeing that we talk about the things that we need to talk about, even when I don't know what that is sometimes, we're working through stuff, even though sometimes I don't even know where to begin, but it's just happening. And I said, that's right. That's how it should be. It should be this natural, organic thing rather than this forced thing. And, when you take that time out of your life, that's exactly what unfolds. So Next year, I want to talk about this more because I really want to offer this to people, that you come down, you spend time with me, and you come and stay down here, and you stay down here for those 4 days. You take that time out of your life, and these intensives run from a Wednesday to a Saturday. And as part of that process, as part of that intensive, you have the twilight bathing at the hot springs, and you have dinner there, and all of those things. And you just see this beautiful connection start to unfold. So I just think there's nothing greater that you could do for your relationship for each other than to step out of the minutiae, the stuff, the busyness, and give yourself that time. And I've done a few of these this year, and some couples come to me and they are in, they're very stuck. They're in a very dark place. And then there are couples that come to me who say, Fiona, we're doing okay, but we want to be better. Like we want to go to the next level. We want a deeper connection. We just want more. And I'm like, great, awesome, bring it on. Because the understanding that I teach and the way this is facilitated, this is a beautiful space for that. So whether you are very, very, very stuck and you don't know where to go next, and these guys have been quite stuck, the couple I'm working with now, or whether you are someone who's like, we're doing okay, but we want to go to the next level. We want to see what's possible. Having that time and dedicating it is a fantastic gift to give yourself. So if there's something you'd like to know more about, just send me an email and I'll let you know when I'm running them next year and what's involved. But wherever you are, it's a wonderful thing to do, is to give yourself that space and time. And this is a beautiful part of the world where I live. It really is. It's a gorgeous part of the world. And I just love what we've been doing this week. It's very rewarding, and it's an absolute privilege. Anyway, hello, Lee. Hi, darling. Thank you for saying hi. Hi, Greg. Oh, Craig. I don't even know what I just went to say Craig and Greg at the same time. I don't even know why. Hi, Craig. Nice to see you. And Andrew, I was thinking about you this morning. No, I'm not joking. I was thinking about you and wondering how you are. You popped into my mind, Andrew. That's wild. Truly, you did. I haven't. Then you pop on the Facebook Live today. I tell you, we're all connected, aren't we? But I was thinking about this morning, Andrew, and wondering how you're doing. Hi, Susan. Hi, Melinda. Thanks for saying hi, everyone. Awesome. Hi, Deezer. Hi, Alison. Hi, Kirsty. Hello. Thank you for saying hi, everyone. I so appreciate it. So if you've just joined me, I've been talking about the couples intensive I'm running this week with this gorgeous couple, beautiful people, and that we are on day 2. Day 3, but it's 2.5 days in, I guess. Hi, Trish. Hi, Trish Barry Andrews from New Zealand. Hi, Trish. Hi, Mairead. Thank you for saying hi, darling. Glad to hear everything's going really well, Andrew. I'm a few floors higher now. Awesome. That's good to hear, Andrew. That's so good to hear. And Melinda, hello, Melinda. Alison, Deezer. Oh, all these gorgeous people. Susan, thank you for saying hi. So, what can I say? I came here today, and I'm so full of some of the things that we've been talking about over these few days with this couple. And, I've taken them through helping them. Some of the things we've talked about is how energy works and how it's generated and what they're generating energetically with each other and why they're hitting a wall. We've looked at how the mind works and how they can recognize their own state of mind to help them navigate when they are in the right frame of mind to talk and when they're not. We've looked at what creates connection and how to create it, right down to even sometimes the things that we can say to one another. Hi, Jim. Hi, great to hear from you. How is your mum, Jim? She's been on my mind a lot, and you and Kim have been on my mind a lot. So hi, Jim. Thanks so much. It's nice to hear from you. So we've been looking at what creates connection and how to create connection. We've been talking about what speaking your truth looks like. We've been looking at how thought works and what the psychological immune system of a human being looks like and how that works in relationship. We've been talking about body language and how to read that. We've been talking about we've been talking about bids for connection and how to recognize them in each other. We've been helping them understand the way that they deflect and what that means. And, it was really interesting because he sat down this morning and he said, the thing that I've realized, one of the big realizations I've had, Fiona, and I really realized it yesterday afternoon after our session, was how much I thought I knew my wife, but I actually don't know her very well. I've got all these things to learn about her that I didn't know. I realized how little I know her. And he said, that's been a real shock to me because I thought I knew her so well, but I really don't. And he said, and I've realized how much I've operated from assumptions. I've just made all these assumptions. I did not know that I was doing it. And he said, and it's shocked to me. He said, I'm excited by it because it means that, there's this whole new world for us to discover and learn about each other. But I'm shocked at how little I know and understand her. And that has been eye-opening. And, it's really interesting because I can't tell you how often that'll come up when I'm working with a couple, where a couple will look at each other and go, I had no idea that when you did that, that meant that, or that you doing that meant that you were kind of shutting down or distracting. I had no idea. Like, it's been fascinating to see them now learning, because the other thing that we've been talking about is separate realities and what that means and how that plays out in a relationship. And so each time each one of them is in a separate reality, I'm helping them see that. I'm like, okay, and how to lean in versus leaning out when that happens. So it's been this beautiful unfolding, and it's just this beautiful conversation. It is a beautiful conversation. And each time they walk away, each day they walk away, there are more and more realizations, and their minds are getting quieter and quieter, because that's the other thing. It's very hard to have fresh thinking and realizations when your mind's racing. And they both said to me, doing this has made me realize that our busy-mindedness is preventing us from connecting. How busy-minded we are, and even recognizing and seeing it, and what that does to connection, and what that does to goodwill, and how it detracts from the level of connection and goodwill we generate. Like, that has been an absolute eye-opener and a shock to them. And so, being in the experience of their mind slowing down, and then, when our minds slow down, our insecurities fall away. The more busy-minded you are, the more your insecurities will run the show. Right? And this is why I talk about this so much. Most people are talking about attachment styles and fighting styles and personality types and all of that. Like I said, that's all interesting information. But if you don't have an understanding of how busy-minded you are and the impact that has on goodwill and connection, you can learn all of this stuff, but it won't help you. Because until you see the power of your mind slowing down, until you're in the space of that and the realization of that, and this is what we were just talking about before we went for a break for lunch. They've gone out for like I said, this 3.5 hour break. Before you actually have an experience of that, you can tell yourself that your mind's not racing when it is. You can tell yourself that you're present when you are absolutely not. Your inability to hold space for one another. So that was the last thing we were talking about, was the power of holding space, what that looks like, how to do it, the ins and outs of it. And you don't even realize how important that is. And you can't do it if your mind's racing. You just don't have the capacity, you don't have the bandwidth, right? Because here's what people do when they don't understand how important just how precious, what a gift it is to hold space when they don't know how to do it and they've got no point of reference for it. When you don't have that, what you do is you go into fix-it mode, right? You go into problem solve mode. You go into justification mode. You go into explanation mode. And that blocks connection. Well and truly, it puts a wall up between you and the other person every single time. And so what happens is you can be at a point where you feel like you're trying really hard to connect, that you're reaching out, but it's being rebuffed. And we were talking about that earlier. And so I was helping them realize that even though it looks like you're reaching out, trying to connect, what you're doing is creating the opposite of what you think you're doing. You're creating a wall between the two of you. And as I explained this and I showed it, and I've got a whiteboard, I've been doing a lot of drawing on whiteboards for them, and because especially for those of you who are visual learners, I've been doing a lot of drawing so they could see how it works in real time. They've been quite shocked. And, you know, as I keep saying to them, the way forward for you guys moving forward and for anybody is the amount of understanding that you have as you leave here. It's not about what you need to do. It's about the amount of understanding that you have, because the more we understand how human beings work, the more we have the understanding becomes the leverage point and the mechanism for change. You don't have to remember the steps. You don't have to remember techniques. You don't have to remember strategy, because the problem with steps, technique, and strategy is it puts you in your personal thinking. And in our personal thinking, we are more likely to lead with our insecurities. Okay, we're more likely to lead with our ego. We're more likely to be in a me state of mind rather than a we state of mind. And again, that's another thing that I've been talking to them about over these few days, helping them see when they're in a me versus me, or when they're in the we, right? Which generates a whole different level of connection, conversation, feeling, energy, all of it. And so it's been really helpful for them, because it's like, I don't need to worry about the how. What I do need is to develop an understanding, because the understanding becomes the leverage point for change. And that's why this becomes an organic thing rather than okay, I've got to do this and I've got to do this and I've got to do this, which is why, you know, when you're thinking about all the things that you need to do, you're not in your heart space, you're in your head. And, you know, that's relying on willpower. That's relying on you being in a certain state of mind. And, you know, the thing is, our state of mind fluctuates. And so, you know, another thing we've been talking about this week is state of mind, what that means, how that impacts our ability to connect, our bandwidth, our level of emotional intelligence. So these are just some of the things we've talked about. And of course, as we've talked about it and we've looked in this direction, there's been this sense of calm. There's been this it's like putting down of mental load. And then there's been this capacity to really listen, connect, understand one another. And then from there, you get to see how simple this actually is. This is very simple, right? The simplicity of it is the beauty of it. And that's what we're starting to get to with them right now, is helping them see the simplicity of human beings, of doing relationships really well, that it's a super simple thing. And that, you know, when we're in our personal mind, when we're overthinking, we overcomplicate everything. And so I drew a visual for them to help them see what a complicated, busy mind looks like versus what a mind that is quiet, and the simplicity that brings, and how that is the pathway forward. So, you know, I can't express enough how much I have enjoyed doing this, how much I love doing this, and just how powerful this is. Like, it is life-changing. It is, as these guys said, this is a whole new beginning for us. This is our reset. We're creating a new normal. And now they're getting a direct experience of what new normal feels like. And then there's a pathway for them when they leave here. And then, of course, you know, by having this experience, they can come back and draw on it and then move forward. draw on it and move forward, draw on it and move forward. And that's just a priceless gift to give yourself and obviously your relationship. So feeling very full right now. Okay, so in saying that, I want to answer a couple of questions that have been sent through to me, so I'll bring those up. But if anyone here is on the call and you've got some questions that you would like me to answer, please feel free to pop them in the comments, or if there's something about what I've said, okay, that you've got questions about, or if what I've said makes sense, love to hear what your thoughts are on that. And all right, whilst that's happening, I will bring up this question. Okay. Okay. Here's a question for today's live. And I'm going to read this one out. There's a few ones here, but I'm picking this one because it's a question that I get certain variations sent to me around. And so here's the question. The question is, hi, Fiona. Thank you so much for doing these lives. I learned so much from them. I read your book, Funny Little Human, and I couldn't put it down. My mind just feels so much clearer from, there's a couple of typos here, from reading and listening to what you share. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You're very welcome. My question is, I often feel like I am giving more than I'm receiving in my relationship. And I'm at a point now where I don't know what to do about that. Do I just stop? Do I ask them? Do I tell them what I need? Like, I just feel really stuck about this. Why do I feel like I'm giving more than I'm receiving? Okay, great question, right? And definitely something that I get lots of questions around or versions of. So let me answer that. Marae, the simplicity is what makes this understanding so amazing. Yes, it is. It's the simplicity that makes it amazing. Jane, hi, Fiona. Will you hold group retreats in the future? Yes, I will, Jane. Hi, Jane. Absolutely. So next year, I'm holding a group retreat for all of my Relatable students. So we're holding a Relatable retreat next year. I'm in the middle of mapping that out now. That will be held on the peninsula near where I live. And I will be going to the US to hold a retreat for my Relatable students in the US. Outside of that, like if you're not a Relatable student, if you haven't done my Relatable program, I'm not sure is my answer to that. I think what I'd like to hold are retreats for couples, like a couples retreat, a group couples retreat. And so you can come with your partner and I can teach you all of this stuff and we can talk through it. So that's definitely something that I'd like to run. Outside of that, I'm not sure, but definitely a retreat for my Relatable students is 100% happening next year, both in Australia and in the US. And I'm really toying with the idea of running a retreat for couples. So you bring your partner along and we can do it that way. So is that what you meant, Jane, when you asked that question? Hi, Dan. Hi. Checking in late from the Seattle area. Yay. I love Seattle. I've been there many times. Great city. Seattle is a gorgeous part of the world. It really, really is. Hey, Jeff. Hi. I can see you on YouTube. Awesome. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. So coming back to this question. So why do I feel like I'm giving more than I'm receiving is basically the question. So I think what starts to happen in a relationship with someone right, is that we start relating through our own reality, right? And you've got to understand, this is the hardest thing for people to get their head around, right? We think we understand that people live in separate realities, but I feel like we skim the surface of understanding that. And one of the things that's come up with this couple over these few days that we've been working together is every time that they go into their reality and speak from that, I'm helping them see it in real time. Because what I see happening with a lot of people is everybody's in their separate realities. So you have to understand, no two people see the world the same way, ever. Ever, ever, ever. No two people are looking at the world or a situation in the same way, ever, right? And so what looks so blindingly obvious to you is not the reality that the person next to you is experiencing. They are not experiencing your reality. They are not experiencing your reality, okay? And so that's the first thing you've got to get your head around. And then you've got to get your head around what that actually means, the implications of that, right? Because this is just so important. Because what I see is people get caught up in their reality. Their reality looks 100% true. It makes 100% sense to them. It looks like this is the way things are. And so then we operate out of an assumption that that is what the person next to us is seeing. Makes sense to you, so why wouldn't it make sense to them? It's 100% real, so why can't they see it? It looks like this is the way things are, and if it's the way things are, then that's what they're seeing at the same time, and that's just the thing that you are not seeing. Like, this is not what's going on. So in a situation like that, where it feels like you're giving more than you are receiving, what you've got to understand is the first part of this answer, and there's probably 4 or 5 parts to this answer, and I may not get to all of them today. But the first part of this answer is you have to understand you live in a completely different reality to another person. And so what looks like giving to you, because you've got to understand the implication in this question is, it's not even an implication. The statement is, I'm giving more than I'm getting back, right? And so to me, the implication of that is, well, if I give, then someone should give back to me. Right? If I give a lot, then I should get a lot. That's kind of how, this is what I'm hearing in that question is, if I give a lot, I should get a lot. And so then what happens is, because we think that, for example, being in a relationship means that you've got to give a lot, that becomes part of one of your rules, right? That becomes your reality. And so then you start to create a lot of expectation around that, because it's kind of like, well, I've given a lot to you. When are you going to do the same for me? And you have to understand the person in the other reality, for them, being in relationship may not look the same way. They may be giving to you, but in a completely different way to what you're giving to them, right? And so, for example, if you're someone who gives a lot by doing a lot for others, right? You do a lot for people. You're always there for them. You know what I mean? You just do a lot. But maybe that person's idea of giving back is to crack a joke, or to give you lots of physical affection, or I don't even know, right? They're in a different reality to you. If you can't see that and you don't get curious about their reality, all that you're going to see is your own reality. I'm giving out a lot, but I'm not getting anything back. And then, of course, when we are stuck in our reality and we are unable to see another person's reality, what happens is we start speaking from our reality, right? We start speaking from our reality, and what ends up happening is we end up being in a conversation with ourselves. We start talking to ourselves. This is what I was helping this couple see. There was a point yesterday where he was sharing something, and I said, I'm just gonna let you know that right now you are in a conversation with yourself. And he was like, what? And I said, right now you're in a conversation with yourself, because what you're doing right now is you're speaking to your reality. Her reality is completely different to yours right now. And because you're not speaking to her reality, you're essentially talking to you. And that was a real eye-opener for him. And I've helped her see that when she's doing that as well. So the first thing you have to understand is not everyone sees things the same way you do. So when you've got an expectation of, well, I give, then I should get back, what you're assuming is the other person is aware of everything you're giving, right? They're aware of it, and they have the same response as you, that, oh, so-and-so just did this for me, so I now need to do that. So you are expecting their reality to be the same as yours, okay? You're expecting their reality to be the same as yours. And then you get frustrated because their reality is not your reality. They're not having the same experience as you. They don't see things the same way. And so, of course, this is where, when you have a capacity to step inside someone else's reality, and this is a big part of what I teach, and it's like you're able to get out of your own, step inside someone else's, get really curious, really understand that, then what happens is you end up having a conversation with them rather than a conversation that's simply with you about your own reality. So that's the first part of this. The second part of this is when we are in a state of mind where it looks like I'm giving more than I'm receiving, we end up being in a state of mind where we're keeping score. Okay, people, I see this. What happened is I see this happening with people is people start keeping score. The minute you keep score, and I used to be such a really good scorekeeper. Oh my goodness, I had kept score. I can't tell you. I had like this imaginary meters long block of wood that had all of these notches in it that I'd kept score on, that I could remember, right? That my husband had no awareness of. And I would, in order to back up my own reality, I'd go and look at all of those, all of the evidence of all the things that I've done that he hasn't done, or why I'm right and he's wrong. And I would utilize that scorecard that I had in the back of my mind, and then I'd throw it into a conversation. And to me, I didn't know I was doing that. It just looked like I was sharing my experience, but I was throwing a bomb every single time I did that. And so what happens, okay, when you do that, when you're keeping score, is goodwill drops. It falls away. Now, when goodwill falls away, people are not very generous, right? They're not generous of mind. They're not generous of heart. And that's just simply because when goodwill falls away, we go into self-protection mode, right? And in self-protection mode, I've got enough capacity to think about myself and nothing else. In self-protection mode, all I have is the ability for me to think about my own reality and what I need to do to keep myself safe and to take care of me. I don't have any capacity for anything else. I remember working with a couple, as a few years ago now, who running a business together. She was doing all the finances and the bookkeeping and pays and all of that, and he was dealing with the staff and sales and all of that kind of thing. And they, both had incredible skills in that area, but they had so little goodwill that she had decided that she no longer wanted to be in the office, so she would stay at home and work from home because she couldn't bear being around him. And so she would be working from home all day, and then she'd start cooking dinner, and she'd ring him when he was on his way home, and she'd say to him, hey, can you pick up some milk or bread, or I've forgotten this ingredient. And his response was, no, you do it yourself. You should have thought about it. You're at home all day. It's not my problem. I'm tired. I'm coming home. Now, on the surface of that, you might hear that and you might think, that is outrageous. Why wouldn't he get something for her? That is so mean, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually understand the dynamics that are going on right now, he is so much in survival mode. He's so much in self-defense mode, in self-protection mode. He did not have capacity for anything else. And he was also so angry and resentful that it was like, why would I do anything for you? You do nothing for me. Right? And that's the state of mind people are often in. Why should I do anything for you when you do nothing for me? And so we're in that scorekeeping competition, right? If you're in a competitive frame with your partner, I'm going to say to you, you are in an adversarial state of mind, and your goodwill is something you need to rebuild very quickly, right? When goodwill is high, that whole competitive streak stops. So they were in that state of mind. That's how they were. And as I was working with them, and they came and did a retreat with me on the peninsula. This is a long time ago now. It's a number of years ago. And I was working with them, and they started to rebuild goodwill. I remember she rang me one day and she was crying. And she said, "You're not going to believe what happened, Fiona." And I said, What happened? And she said, "I was at home and he just called me out of the blue and said, 'Hey, is there anything you need me to get for you on the way home?'" And in her mind, that was such an enormous shift and change. Like that, it had been so long since that had happened. She was absolutely, just that small gesture, she was unbelievably, like, she just said, "I can't believe it. I didn't even ask. I didn't even," like, she'd given up asking. And he rang. And I said, this is what goodwill does. When people feel good, they've got the bandwidth and the space to now think about the other person. They've got the bandwidth and the space to start thinking of something outside of themselves. They've got the bandwidth and the space, right? They actually get access to thinking that's more about the we than the me. And this naturally happens. You don't have to force it. It becomes a natural, normal thing. And so this is what I'm saying. When you look in the direction of this, understanding the simplicity of it, the change becomes organic. And when it's organic, it's sustainable. Yes? It's sustainable. So it becomes the norm rather than this thing you do for a little while because you spoke to someone like me. It becomes the baseline with which you operate from. And so now what happens is, and as people start to live that, experience it, feel it, they start to become very protective of the level of goodwill that's in the relationship. That becomes super, super important. That becomes the thing they value. They start to become very, very protective of their own state of mind, because they realize when they take care of that and they take care of the goodwill, everything flows. Everything's easy. Everything's simple. It all flows from there. Don't have to worry about the how. Don't have to remember complicated techniques. I don't have to understand bucket loads of information. When I take care of that, everything else gets taken care of along the way as a result of that. So, I guess what I'd say, and I'm talking about this subject of when we are, when it feels like we're giving more than we're receiving. The first two things, and there's more I could talk about on this, the first two things you have to understand is people live in separate realities, all right? And so what you're doing when you feel like you're giving a lot and you're doing a lot, then the other person is not necessarily in that experience. You're operating off an assumption that they're in the same experience as you. And so then that leads to resentment, because you're like, well, I'm doing this for you. Why wouldn't you do that for me? But we've got to remember, people are in such different experiences. And you also have to understand that there are unlimited ways to experience anything. There are unlimited ways to experience anything. And so it's not like there's just one reality, okay? And we get very caught up in that my reality is the reality. No such thing, okay? And so you've got to understand that. And then the other thing is, when we're in that point scoring frame of mind, we can really build up a case that then poisons the connection, and then we end up being really, really resentful. All right. So they're the first two things I would say in answering that. There is more that I could talk about. I mean, I could just talk about this stuff all day long, really. I could just talk about it for hours and hours. That doesn't mean that it's hours and hours of information. It's just a multitude of ways that I'm pointing in the exact same direction. I'm just pointing you in a direction, and I'm finding a multitude of ways to do that, because there are different things that are going to land with different people. And so by pointing this and speaking about it in a multitude of ways, you get to have an experience of looking in this direction in a way that works for you without trying to put yourself in a box that's not your box. All right. So that's how this can become organic and beautiful. Jane, exciting news about the retreat. Yes, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. That's right, Jane. You've been in my relatable program. I would get to meet you in the flesh and lots of my students that I've only ever really met over Zoom. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I can't wait. I think it'll be absolutely incredible. I'm a massive hugger, so everyone expect enormous hugs. I don't think it's going to be an extraordinary experience. So I am in the midst of organising that. So there will be an announcement coming out to everybody shortly. If you are a relatable student, whether you're current or ex, or you finished the program, etc., invitations will be going out to everybody. Lee, when you realize who you really are, the illusion of giving more fades away because you're just giving from an infinite space of love within yourself, just because it feels so good. Yeah, it's so true, honey. You stop paying attention to whether that person gives back or not. That's right. You stop the point scoring. It just falls away. You're in a completely different level of experience. And yes, what Lee's pointing to, Lee is one of my beautiful, relatable students, what Lee's pointing to would be the next stage I would go to in explanation of all of this, but she's just said it so beautifully. There it is. That's the next stage. If I was to talk about this longer, that's where I'd be heading. That's right. You stop paying attention to whether that person gives back or not. Then you start to deeply see the ways they love you in return. Yeah, it's so true, and appreciate it on a different level. Yeah, beautifully said, Lee. Awesome. Love it. Thank you. Jeff, so true. Love it, Jeff. Thank you. Kirsty, I just absolutely love how very simple this is. It very quickly made a huge difference to the way I saw our relationship and my husband. Oh, thanks for sharing that, Kirsty. I'm so glad to hear that, honey. It's such a pleasure having you in the program, honey. It really, really is. It's just love it. Love hearing the ripple effects for people. Hello, Peter. Hello, Fiona. I'm listening to you laying down on top of a hill, staring up at the clouds as they roll by. The breeze blows across me and I am at home. This is my reality at this very moment. Truly, simply powerful for rebuilding. Oh, Peter, gonna make me cry. I love that. Thank you, Peter. That's right. That's exactly right. And that is, see, I've forgotten that. We've been talking about home. What does home look like? What does it feel like? I've been talking about that with this couple, because when they're home, the whole world looks completely different. And their partner, your partner, when you're home, looks completely different than when you're not home, right? This is another thing that just blows people's minds. Your partner looks completely different when you're home versus when you are not home. Okay. Oh my God, I've been speaking for 47 minutes. All right. If there is anyone on YouTube or out there who actually watches this to the end, congratulations, bless you. Thank you for listening to the recording if you're watching it. If you've got any questions that you would like me to answer, please send them through to hello@fionalukis.com.au and I will answer it for you. Just mark it in the subject line Friday Live Q&A. And I'll answer it. If anybody would like to join our incredible relatable family and learn this understanding for yourself, you can post, there's the link to the sales page. I'm just posting it in the comments. Please, I'd love to have you join us. There's 14 days, right? You've got 14 days to try it out and see for yourself if it's a fit for you. So you've got nothing to lose to try it out. You really don't. And so much to gain, and an understanding that you will take with you for the rest of your life. All right, everybody. It's a pleasure to spend this time with you as always. I will see you next Friday. I hope this has been helpful. And lots and lots of love to you. Have a great weekend. Ciao.